My mother-in-law had no clue I was the one keeping her whole family afloat. At least, not until the day I came home with my 4-year-old son and found all our stuff dumped out on the sidewalk. Before all that mess, life was pretty simple. I was a personal trainer at a neighborhood gym, spending my days helping people get stronger, leaner, whatever their goal was. It kept me busy enough that I didn't spend too much time worrying about how quiet my personal life was. That all shifted when Ethan walked into the gym. "Hey," he said casually, his voice friendly but his eyes serious. "I'm looking to shake things up. Got any killer moves I can try?" I gave him a quick once-over. He wasn't your typical lost in the gym type, staring at machines like they were alien tech. No, he looked like he knew his way around the place, but he was clearly here for something more. "Yeah, sure," I said, leading him toward the weights. "Let's see what you've got." That first workout turned into a full week, then a month. And somewhere along the way, our small talk turned deeper. Ethan ran a little family-owned Italian spot, well known in town for its real-deal cooking. "It's all about the sauce," he'd say with pride. "No one makes it like my mom does." He spoke about his mother with this odd mix of love and irritation, like someone who cared deeply but had weathered a lot under that roof. One afternoon, after we wrapped up a tough session, he surprised me. "Maya," he said, catching me just as I was about to head out, "what do you think about coming over for dinner? Meet my mom. Try the sauce I won't shut up about." I paused for a second, more caught off guard than anything else. But I nodded. "Yeah, sure. I'm curious if it's really as great as you say." Dinner at his place turned out to be warm and welcoming. The food was incredible, and surprisingly, the company wasn't half bad either. His mom, Lydia, greeted me with a big smile and hearty laugh, though I could feel her watching me closely with every forkful I took. Then there was his sister, Nina, who stopped by mid-meal, less warm, more sharp edges. "So," she said, giving me the once-over, "Ethan tells us you're some kind of fitness expert." There was a smirk on her face as she glanced at the muscles I worked damn hard for. "You take on lost causes? Or just make the fit even fitter?" I let out a small laugh, brushing off the jab. "I think anyone can improve, just takes the right kind of push." Ethan kept showing up, same time every day, always with a reason to stick around a little longer. One night, as we were closing up, he dropped something unexpected. "You know," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I never really believed in fate or any of that crap. But meeting you makes me think maybe I was wrong." It was messy and honest, a kind of charm that caught me off guard. And even though part of me told me to slow down, I was already falling. Fast, like a newbie piling on too much weight without a spotter. One cold evening, as we walked out to our cars, he stopped me. "Maya," he said, real serious now, I suck at smooth lines. I'm not good with fancy words. But I like you. A lot. Lydia, make this official. No games. No trying to be slick. That was Ethan, straight to the point. I smiled so hard it hurt. "Yeah," I said. "Let's see where this goes." And just like that, I wasn't just the gym girl anymore. I was Ethan's girlfriend, and soon after, his wife. Now, moving into his mom's place after the wedding? Not exactly the fairy tale setup I'd imagined. But Ethan said it mattered to him, this whole family thing. So I said okay. What I didn't expect was how hard it would be living with Lydia and Nina. They didn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. From day one, it felt like I was just there. In the way. The house was always buzzing, and somehow I ended up doing more than my share of the chores. After long shifts at the gym, I'd come back to a list of things that needed doing, things no one else seemed to notice, let alone help with. That old washing machine? Total nightmare. It broke down so often I started thinking it had a grudge against me. One night, I was hunched over the damn thing again after dinner, trying to coax it back to life, and I heard them laughing in the kitchen. "She doesn't even know what she's doing," Nina snorted loud enough for me to hear. "Watch. She'll flood the basement next," she cackled, and they both cracked up. Their laughter echoed down the hallway, hitting harder than I'd admit. I bit my tongue and kept fiddling with the machine. But it wasn't just that. Every little thing I did, cleaning, cooking, it felt like a joke to them. And cooking? Don't even get me started. In that house, Italian food wasn't just food, it was gospel. I tried following Lydia's recipes exactly, but nothing ever seemed right. One night, while I was struggling with a simple pasta dish, Nina leaned in the doorway with that same smirk. "Is it supposed to look like that?" she said. "Doesn't look anything like Mom's." I clenched my jaw and stirred the sauce that just refused to come together. "I'm doing my best," I muttered. "Maybe your best isn't good enough," she shot back. "You ever think of that?" I wanted to snap, to fight back, but what would be the point? It wouldn't change a damn thing. Ethan? He never stepped in. With every jab from his sister or his mom, he seemed to shrink back a little more. Later, when it was just us, he'd say quietly, "Just let it go, Maya. It's not worth the fight." But it was worth something to me. Dinner felt less like a meal and more like a test I kept failing. You know, Lydia would joke after tasting my food, "They'd probably kick you out of the kitchen in Italy for this." Everyone laughed. "Yeah," Nina added, sliding me the salt like some kind of consolation prize, "maybe stick to what you know gym stuff." Most days, I just nodded, smiled, and swallowed down the sting. It was like the frustration inside me simmered right alongside the sauce that never came out quite right. Living with Ethan's family? It felt like stepping onto a battlefield every morning, with no armor and no backup. As my pregnancy moved along, the daily chores, already stacked on my shoulders, got heavier and more exhausting. But instead of easing up or offering a little help, Lydia and Nina seemed to double down on their attitude. One afternoon, I was vacuuming the living room, moving slow because of the baby bump that felt bigger by the hour. Lydia walked in, stood there for a moment, and let out a long, pointed sigh, the kind that says more than words ever could. "Maya, you missed a spot over there." "And really, could you move any slower?" she said, motioning toward a corner I hadn't gotten to yet. "At this rate, the whole house is going to fall apart." I straightened up, feeling a sharp ache in my back. "I'm doing what I can, Lydia." "It's not exactly easy when you're this pregnant." She just rolled her eyes. "Back in my day, pregnancy didn't slow us down. You've got to toughen up." Her lack of compassion hit like a slap, but I kept my mouth shut. Barely. Nina wasn't any easier to deal with. Later that same day, I was folding laundry, stacking the clothes as neatly as I could, when she strolled in and started going through my work like she was inspecting damage. "You know these aren't folded right, don't you?" she said, picking up a shirt and flipping it around. "They're supposed to stand on their own, like Mom taught us." "Watch, let me show you." Again. She tossed the shirt back onto the pile like it was trash and started refolding it with the kind of precision you'd expect from a drill sergeant. I felt my jaw tighten. "Nina, I get it. I've folded clothes before. I'm not clueless." She raised an eyebrow, smiling like she'd just won something. "Could have fooled me. But hey, if you're okay with being mediocre, who am I to stop you?" Her words landed harder than I expected. I just stood there for a second, watching her redo everything I'd tried to get right. Cooking wasn't any better. Every meal I made seemed to turn into a roast of me, not the food. If it was Italian? Forget it. That was holy ground, and I was the sinner. One night, I decided to give it another go. Just spaghetti carbonara, something I thought I finally had a handle on. I was stirring the pasta, hopeful, when Nina walked in and gave the pot a once-over. "What's that supposed to be?" she asked, eyebrows climbing. "It's carbonara." "Thought it might be good for dinner," I said, trying to stay upbeat. She grabbed a fork, twirled a bite, and tasted it like she was judging a bad reality show audition. Then she made a face like it physically hurt to swallow. "This? Nice? I wouldn't feed this to a stray dog." I slammed the lid onto the pot, maybe a little too hard. "Well, it's dinner. If you don't like it, you're welcome to cook your own." Tension crackled in the air every day, and Ethan being gone all the time didn't help. He was always working at the restaurant, barely home, and when he was, he avoided the drama like it was contagious. I tried to talk to him about how his mom and sister were treating me, but all he ever said was, "I know it's rough, Maya. Just hang in there. They'll come around eventually." But they didn't. Not even after I gave birth to our son. If anything, it got worse. I gained some weight during pregnancy, pretty normal, I thought, but Lydia turned it into a running joke. "Look how much she's eating," she laughed one afternoon as I tried to stay nourished for breastfeeding. "What, are you feeding a whole army?" Then, one day while I was nursing my baby on the couch, I heard Nina in the kitchen making loud mooing sounds like a cow. She wasn't even subtle. The noise cut straight through me. I blinked back tears, realizing they didn't see me as a person anymore. Just a milk machine, a burden. That was the day something inside me snapped. I needed something that was just mine. Something that didn't revolve around being a daughter-in-law or a wife or a new mom constantly being torn down. That's when I got the idea to start a YouTube channel and an Instagram page, my own little outlet. One morning, while Ethan was out at the restaurant and Nina was off shopping, I grabbed my old camera and set it up in the corner of the cramped guest room we were using. I had turned it into a mini gym with what little space I had. "I'm doing this," I muttered, adjusting the angle. For me, not for them. I started filming short, simple workout videos, stuff new moms like me could do at home. At first, it felt weird. I was talking to a camera, acting like someone out there actually cared. But little by little, it became my safe place. The first few videos? Kinda awkward. I was stiff, my voice shaky. "Hey everyone, it's Maya. Here's a quick 10-minute workout for busy moms. Let's get into it." But slowly, people started watching, subscribing, leaving comments. My confidence started coming back. I saved up for a better camera, watched tutorials on lighting and editing. I was learning as I went. And for the first time in a long while, I had something that was mine. One afternoon, I was in the middle of recording a new low-impact cardio session when Nina stormed into the room. Her eyes flicked from the camera to me. "What the hell is this?" she snapped. "You filming some kind of reality show in here now?" I paused the video and turned to face her, heart thudding not from the workout, but from standing up. "Yeah, actually, I am. This matters to me." Nina scoffed, looking around like she'd stepped into a joke. "You think you're some kind of star now? Give me a break, Maya." The word stung, but I was learning how to take it in stride. "Well, it's not like I've got your support on anything else around here. So yeah, at least this is something I enjoy." Nina rolled her eyes and stormed off, but I didn't let that stop me. I hit record again and picked up right where I left off. If anything, my voice came through stronger this time, firmer. I was starting to find my footing, not just in front of the camera, but in my own life. And as more people tuned in, opportunities started to roll in. First, it was small stuff, brands offering to send me gear, supplements, yoga mats. Then came the big one, a sponsored post with actual money attached. When I saw the email, I had to reread it twice just to believe it. "I can't believe someone's paying me to do this," I told Ethan over dinner that night, grinning as I showed him the message. "That's great, Maya," he said without looking up from his phone. His mind was clearly still stuck on whatever problems were brewing at his restaurant. "Just, maybe don't mention it to Mom or Nina, all right?" I turned back to the sink, drying my hands when my phone buzzed again. Another comment. Another follower. Another small win that was all mine. "You're doing amazing, Maya. Thanks for sharing your journey." Those words hit differently. They felt like a lifeline. This wasn't just some hobby anymore. It was turning into a real business. A real income. Before long, I was bringing in more than Ethan was at the restaurant. I even started handing him $2,000 every month to help cover bills, letting him pass it off as his own contribution. Even then, Lydia and Nina treated me like I was useless. "She just floats around filming those silly little videos," Lydia would mutter whenever she thought I wasn't around. Nina was even more blunt. Maybe if you did more around the house, you'd actually be a real wife. Or at least a decent woman. Then came the crash. Ethan's restaurant hit a serious slump, and one night, he came home looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Maya," he said, shoulders slumped, "I need help. The restaurant needs a cash boost badly. Can you swing it?" I didn't hesitate. I transferred $10,000 that same night. He looked at me with real gratitude in his eyes, and I wanted to believe that meant something. But a few weeks later, he came back again. Just another $5,000. "We're short on bills." I gave it to him. Because I could. Because he was still the father of my son. Because I still wanted to believe we were in this together. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. Not just in our finances, but in us. I felt it every time I handed him money and he walked away without asking how I was really doing. And then things somehow got worse. Nina got married and moved her new husband, Ryan, into the already cramped house. Whatever small corner of peace I had carved out for myself and my son vanished overnight. Suddenly, the house felt like a crowded pressure cooker, and I was the one everyone blamed for the steam. "You don't do anything around here," Lydia snapped one morning as I tried to juggle editing a video and feeding my son. "Just taking up space." With Nina expecting her first child, Lydia made it crystal clear that we were no longer welcome. "There's gonna be another baby in this house soon. We can't afford to keep freeloaders around," she said one evening, not even bothering to look me in the eye. Then Ethan dropped the final match into the powder keg. "I've got to leave town for a bit," he said. "Handle some restaurant issues in another city." He packed a bag, kissed me and our son goodbye, and left, completely unaware of the storm he was walking out on. Or maybe he knew and just didn't care. I tried to hold it together. Took my son to school, kept up with my workouts, even started filming in the park to get some air. Then came the day everything fell apart for good. It started out normal. I picked up my son from school and we walked home, chatting about dinosaurs and spelling tests. But when we got to the house, everything we owned was sitting on the front lawn. Bags, suitcases, even my son's favorite stuffed bear tossed carelessly onto the grass. My heart dropped. I rang the doorbell, already feeling my chest tighten. Lydia and Nina stood behind the glass, faces cold as stone. They cracked the door open just enough to speak. "You'll need to find somewhere else to stay," Lydia said, her voice clipped and final. "What are you talking about?" I snapped. "What about Ethan? What am I supposed to tell him?" Nina laughed, sharp and cruel. "Tell him whatever you want. It's not like he's around to care." I tried calling him. Once. Twice. 4 times. No answer. I stood there, trembling, then grabbed our things and booked a room at a nearby hotel. Just me and my son. That night, sitting on the edge of a stiff bed in a generic hotel room, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just a temporary break. This was the end of a chapter one never should have been part of in the first place. I had just finished unpacking the essentials when my phone buzzed with a new message from Nina of all people. "Thought you might Lydia, see what your beloved husband's been up to." Attached was a link. My chest tightened as I tapped it. The page loaded to a social media account filled with pictures, Ethan, looking relaxed, happy, and very much not alone. There he was, strolling on a beach, sitting across from a woman at candlelit dinners, holding her hand in a photo time-stamped yesterday. My fingers went numb. The phone slipped a little in my grasp. He wasn't on a business trip. He was building a new life, without me. With someone else. I didn't even get a chance to fully process the betrayal when I felt a tug at my sleeve. My son, eyes big and worried, looked up at me. "Mommy, are you okay?" My little boy's voice was soft, laced with worry, and it pulled me back from the edge I hadn't even realized I was standing on. I forced a smile and scooped him into my arms. "Yeah, buddy. I'm okay. Just tired, that's all." But I wasn't okay. Not really. I sat there staring at my phone screen, heart pounding with betrayal and rage. I'd been the one holding everything together, paying the bills, keeping Ethan's failing restaurant afloat, putting food on the table for a family that had just tossed me and my son out like we were nothing. And the whole time, Ethan had been off living a second life. With someone else. On my dime. That week, my phone lit up constantly with calls from him. I let them go unanswered until I felt ready to face it. When I finally picked up, his voice sounded calm, even concerned. Maya, where are you guys? I heard about what happened. You should come back. We've got bills to sort out, and the restaurant, well, it needs more support. His words made my blood run hot, but I kept my tone even. Sure, Ethan. Let's talk tomorrow. I'll come by. Good, he said, relieved. I think it's better to handle this in person. He had no idea what was coming. The next morning, after dropping my son off at school, I drove straight to Lydia's house. My stomach was in knots, but there was a quiet strength in me now. Ethan was waiting, looking surprised and almost happy to see me. Lydia and Nina, though, their expressions soured the second I walked in. I didn't waste time. I reached into my bag and pulled out the divorce papers, handing them directly to Ethan. His smile vanished. His eyes scanned the pages, his face going pale. Lydia and Nina exchanged smug looks like they thought they'd finally won, like I was backing down. Don't celebrate too fast, I said, looking them both dead in the eye. You've been living off my work all this time. Ethan dropped the act then. His shoulders slumped. The restaurant, it's not doing well. It hasn't been for a while. The mood in the room turned instantly. Lydia and Nina's smiles twisted into shock and fury. They laid into him, accusing him of hiding the truth, of letting their so-called safety net fall apart. Then Nina, ever the mouthy one, sneered at me. Well, since you're the breadwinner, I guess Ethan's filing for alimony. How's that for karma? Ethan perked up at the idea, nodding like a man clinging to the last lifeboat. I almost laughed. You really think you're getting a dime? I know about the affair, Ethan. He froze. How did you? I pointed toward Nina. Your sister sent me everything, photos, dates, the whole show. So, thanks for that. Nina's face went white as a sheet. The room erupted into chaos, yelling, accusations, excuses. I let them spiral for a bit, then cut in one last time. And just so we're clear, I'm taking back everything I paid for, every appliance, every piece of furniture. It's all mine. They went silent as movers began coming through the front door, one after another. They hauled out the fridge, the washer, the flat screen, even the high-end blender I'd bought for Christmas. You can't do this, Lydia cried, her voice cracking. We need those things. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I needed them too. And I paid for every last one. By the time the last box was out the door, the house looked half empty. But me? I felt lighter than I had in years. I turned back to Ethan, who now looked small, slumped, and very much alone. Take care of your mother and your sister, I said quietly. That's your job now. And then I walked away. Not just from the house, but from the years of disrespect, manipulation, and pain. The divorce, when it came through, felt like freedom. I fought for what I was owed, child support, compensation for Ethan's cheating, and my lawyer made sure it was all handled cleanly. No more loose ends. Ethan's family didn't fare so well. Without my support, the restaurant folded. Bankrupt. The house was sold off to cover debts they couldn't outrun. Lydia and Nina started reaching out again, text after text, voicemails dripping with fake apologies and not-so-subtle begging. I didn't respond. I blocked them all without hesitation. Nina's husband left her soon after, and now the four of them, Ethan, his mom, his sister, and her baby, are crammed into a tiny rental, scraping by. It's sad, sure, but they made their bed. Meanwhile, life for me and Leo? It's blooming. We've got a sweet little apartment now. Small, but cozy. Safe. Ours. And my channel? It's thriving. Moms from all over have found their way to my videos, women trying to reclaim their strength after pregnancy, after heartbreak, after life knocked them down. It gave me an idea: online fitness courses, just for postpartum women. Simple, real, encouraging. The kind of thing I wish I'd had when I was in the thick of it. There's a lot of work ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited. Really excited. At night, when my son's laughter bounces off the walls, when we curl up on the couch and just breathe in the calm. I know we made it. We came through the fire. And now? It's our time to shine.